Welcome back to Who Died Today USA channel. In the past few days, we have received somber news about the passing of extraordinary talents. Today's episode is dedicated to honoring their memory. Additionally, we will recap the stars we have recently lost. Before we begin, we kindly ask for your support. If this video or the legacies of these remarkable individuals have touched your life, please consider giving this video a thumbs up as a sign of respect and remembrance. Thank you. Renee Victor, a beloved performer whose warmth and talent lit up both stage and screen, peacefully passed away on May 30th, 2025, at the age of 86. Born in San Antonio, Texas, on July 25, 1938, she began her artistic journey as a singer and dancer, enchanting audiences alongside her husband in the duo Ray and Renee, a vibrant act that earned them acclaim across the globe. In her later years, Renee transitioned into acting with grace and determination, overcoming industry barriers that often sidelined older women and Latinas. Her perseverance paid off. She became a treasured presence in American homes through her unforgettable roles, especially as the spirited Abuelita in Disney Pixar's Coco and the sharp-witted Lupita in the hit series Weeds. These performances resonated deeply, celebrating family, culture, and resilience with both humor and heart. Behind the scenes, Renee quietly faced the challenges of lymphoma for several years. Despite her health struggles, she continued to work, embracing her craft with passion and energy. To her, acting was more than a career. It was a way to stay curious, connected, and full of life. Renee's life was one of color, courage, and creativity. She brought strength and soul to every role, and her legacy lives on in the stories she helped tell. She is survived by her loving daughters, Raquel and Margot, and by countless fans who will forever cherish her voice, her laughter, and the joy she brought to the world. In remembering Renee Victor, we honor not just an extraordinary artist, but a woman whose life itself was a beautiful performance, rich in love, purpose, and grace. Ruth Buzzy, the beloved comedian and actress whose characters lit up television screens for decades, passed away peacefully at the age of 88 at her Texas home, surrounded by love. Her extraordinary life in comedy brought joy to millions and left an indelible mark on the hearts of audiences young and old. Born in 1936 in Westerly, Rhode Island, and raised in Connecticut, Ruth's gift for making people laugh began early. At 18, she courageously moved to California to study acting at the Pasadena Playhouse, where her classmates included Dustin Hoffman and Gene Hackman. What followed was a career full of unforgettable moments, from Broadway stages to classic television. Ruth rose to national fame on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, where she created the iconic Gladys Ormsby, a fierce, funny character whose handbag became her trademark. Her fearless humor and masterful timing earned her 5 Emmy nominations and a Golden Globe win. Whether on Sesame Street, The Lost Saucer, or presenting awards at the Emmys, Ruth brought a unique sparkle to every performance. In her later years, Ruth faced Alzheimer's with grace and the same quiet strength that defined her life. Though the journey was not easy, she remained a symbol of dignity and light to those who knew and admired her. She is remembered not just for her brilliant comedy, but for her kindness, courage, and the laughter she gave the world. Ruth Buzzy was a true original, a treasured artist whose legacy will continue to bring smiles for generations to come. Donations in her honor may be made to the Alzheimer's Association in celebration of a life so beautifully lived. Breaking news. Ben Stiller, one of the most recognizable faces in comedy, has spent decades making the world laugh. But behind the iconic characters and box office hits is a man who has quietly faced deep personal trials, private pain, and a health journey that changed the course of his life forever. Now in his late 50s, as he shifts into a new chapter of artistic depth and personal clarity, we take a closer look at the man behind the laugh lines, the resilience, the reinvention, and the strength it takes to keep showing up when life tries to knock you down. Can you imagine being born into comedy royalty and still having to prove yourself at every turn? That was Ben Stiller's reality. With parents like Jerry Stiller and Ann Mara, titans of American comedy, expectations were sky high from the very beginning. But for Ben, that legacy was both a gift and a burden. From his earliest days, he knew he would have to carve out a voice that was unmistakably his own. Have you ever wondered what it's like to build your own name when you were born into someone else's spotlight? Ben's early journey was filled with creativity and risk. In the 1990s, while others were playing it safe, he launched The Ben Stiller Show, a bold, boundary-pushing sketch comedy that, though short-lived, won an Emmy and earned him a cult following. But it was just the beginning. In 1998, the world truly stood up and noticed. There's Something About Mary exploded onto screens, and suddenly, Ben Stiller was no longer just the quirky son of comedy legends. He was a star in his own right. Then came Meet the Parents, where his everyman role as Greg Fokker made millions of families laugh and squirm with recognition. Zoolander took satire to absurd heights, and Night at the Museum brought him into the homes and hearts of younger generations. What is it about Ben's comedy that resonates so deeply? Is it the way he makes us laugh while reminding us of ourselves? Stiller's secret has always been vulnerability. His characters are rarely the alpha males or superheroes. They are nervous, awkward, often failing, but always trying. And in that trying, they become deeply human. Ben's comedic style disarms us, and in that space of humor, he plants something real, something sincere. But as his career soared, life behind the scenes was not always full of joy. In 2014, during what should have been a stable, successful period, Ben received unexpected news. He was diagnosed with prostate cancer. It came without warning, without symptoms. A routine PSA test, which his doctor recommended early as a precaution, revealed elevated levels. Biopsies confirmed it, an invasive form that needed immediate attention. Imagine being told that you are sick when you feel perfectly fine. That beneath the surface, your body is facing a silent threat. What would you do? Ben chose to confront it directly. He underwent surgery, removed the cancer, and made a full recovery. But the emotional toll of that moment reshaped how he saw the world. When he finally shared his story publicly in 2016, it was not for attention, but to raise awareness. He became a vocal advocate for early testing, urging men to listen to their bodies and be proactive about their health. "Taking the test saved my life," he once said in an interview. "I want others to have that same chance." His honesty struck a chord. Fans saw not just the comedian or the actor, but the man, vulnerable and brave, using his platform to help others. Have you or someone you love faced a health scare that changed everything? How do you find the courage to talk about it? But health was not the only storm Ben weathered. Around the same time, his personal life was going through its own upheaval. In 2017, he and Christine Taylor, his wife of 17 years, announced their separation. They had shared a life, raised 2 children, and worked together on several films. The news was a shock to fans who saw them as one of Hollywood's more grounded couples. And yet, even in separation, something remarkable happened. They remained close, continued to co-parent lovingly, and, over time, quietly rekindled their relationship. During the pandemic lockdown, they reunited, choosing love, familiarity, and healing over division. Isn't it beautiful when people find their way back to each other, not out of necessity, but from understanding? Loss, too, shaped Stiller's path in ways no audience ever fully saw. In 2015, his mother passed away. a woman whose humor and strength had been his foundation. Then in 2020, the world mourned with him when his father, Jerry Stiller, died. The elder Stiller had been more than a mentor. He was Ben's hero, collaborator, and compass. "Losing both my parents within 5 years, it changes you," Ben shared in a reflective interview. "You start thinking about legacy, about what really matters." Those losses, coupled with his health scare and professional challenges, like the commercial failure of Zoolander 2, led him to step back. He took time away from the spotlight, not to disappear, but to rediscover. And what emerged from that time was not the Ben Stiller of old, but a version more rooted, more intentional, and more creatively fearless. The result? Severance, an Apple TV Plus series that critics have hailed as one of the most innovative psychological dramas of the decade. As executive producer and director, Stiller led the project with a vision and tone that surprised everyone. It was dark, philosophical, and emotionally nuanced, far from his comedic roots, yet still unmistakably Ben. Isn't it fascinating how we can evolve in the face of pressure? That sometimes the hardest moments lead to the most meaningful reinventions? Severance is more than just a career milestone. It is proof that Ben Stiller is not defined by one genre, one phase, or one expectation. He is a storyteller, curious, fearless, and willing to push boundaries. Through it all, health scares, heartbreak, industry criticism, Ben has never lost his heart. He remains a devoted father, a loving partner, a loyal friend, and a thoughtful artist. He has spoken openly about dealing with anxiety, the fear of failure, and the pressure of legacy. And perhaps that is what makes his story so compelling. He has stumbled, fallen, paused, but never quit. When you think about Ben Stiller, what do you see? The awkward date from Mary? The night guard talking to a wax statue? Or do you see a man who has laughed through pain, risen after defeat, and grown more human with each chapter? Ben Stiller's journey reminds us that resilience is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet, steady, and personal. It is choosing to show up, day after day, even when the audience is gone and the script feels uncertain. He has given us decades of laughter, unforgettable characters, and now, wisdom born from experience. As he steps into the next phase of his life and career, one thing is clear: Ben Stiller is not finished. He is only just beginning a new act. So here's to Ben, the man who turned pressure into power, loss into love, and laughter into legacy. What would you say to Ben today after hearing his story? How has his journey inspired you to keep moving forward, no matter what life throws your way? Loretta Swit, the unforgettable star of MASH, brought strength, vulnerability, and wit to television screens across America for over a decade. Born November 4, 1937, in Passaic, New Jersey, she studied at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts before finding her place on stage and screen. Her path led to the iconic role of Major Margaret Hot Lips Houlihan, a character who would define her career and touch millions of lives. From 1972 to 1983, Swit appeared in 240 of the 251 episodes of Maz H, portraying a woman both formidable and deeply human. Her performance earned her 2 Emmy Awards and 10 nominations, but more than accolades, she earned the hearts of viewers. She played a military nurse with ambition, compassion, and quiet resilience, a character navigating the harsh realities of war while holding on to her humanity. Off-screen, Swit was just as passionate. A lifelong advocate for animal welfare, she founded the Sweetheart Animal Alliance and used her creative energy to raise awareness and funds for animals in need. Her commitment was unwavering, her heart full of empathy. Beyond Massey, she graced both stage and screen with roles in over 25 television films and a celebrated theater career, including more than 2,200 performances of Shirley Valentine. Her presence in the entertainment world was both powerful and enduring. On May 30th, 2025, Loretta Swit passed away peacefully at her New York City home at the age of 87, with natural causes suspected. She leaves behind a legacy of trailblazing performances, quiet strength, and deep compassion. As she once reflected on her work, "You made me laugh, you made me cry, you made me feel." And indeed she did, all that and more. Rick Derringer's name resonates with generations of music lovers, not just for his guitar prowess, but for a career that captured the soul of American rock. From teenage stardom to session legend, Derringer's music was the soundtrack to countless lives. Born Richard Dean Zeringer in Ohio in 1947, Derringer picked up his first guitar at 9 and never looked back. By the time he turned 18, he had already topped the Billboard charts with "Hang On Sloopy" as frontman of the McCoys. It wasn't just a hit, it became an anthem, a rallying cry for Ohio State fans and music lovers alike. But Derringer wasn't content to be a one-hit wonder. His solo breakout, Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo in 1973, showcased his ferocious energy and talent, a track that would later roar through scenes in Dazed and Confused and Stranger Things. He lent his guitar to iconic songs like Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Heart and Air Supply's Making Love Out of Nothing at All, leaving his mark even where his name wasn't front and center. Behind the scenes, he was just as impactful. He produced the Grammy-winning debut album for Weird Al Yankovic, worked with Steely Dan, Todd Rundgren, and Cyndi Lauper, and gave wrestling fans one of their most enduring anthems, Real American, Hulk Hogan's theme that transcended arenas to become a political rallying cry across party lines. In his later years, he found a new rhythm, collaborating with his wife Jenda on faith-driven music and touring with legends like Ringo Starr. Though health struggles shadowed his final months, Rick Derringer's spirit never dulled. He passed away in Ormond Beach, Florida, at 77. What remains is a legacy that defies eras, a voice, a riff, a feeling that will keep on playing. Valerie Mahaffey's career was a masterclass in quiet brilliance, a steady presence whose performances brought wit, depth, and vulnerability to every screen she graced. She passed away at the age of 71 in Los Angeles after a courageous battle with cancer. Born in Indonesia and raised across continents from Nigeria to England and eventually Texas, Mahaffey brought a worldly grace to her work. She began her career on the stages of New York, where she won 2 prestigious Obie Awards and held her own opposite legends like Raul Julia and Morgan Freeman. Her stage roots remained a grounding force throughout her 5-decade career. Television audiences fell in love with her in Northern Exposure, where her portrayal of the eccentric, hypochondriac Eve earned her an Emmy in 1992. Mahaffey had a gift for capturing quirky characters with heart, a gift she brought to beloved shows like Desperate Housewives, Young Sheldon, Dead to Me, and Echo 3. Her performances weren't just memorable, they were deeply human, layered with humor and tenderness. She brought that same authenticity to the big screen in films like Seabiscuit, Sully, and most recently French Exit, where she starred opposite Michelle Pfeiffer and earned an Independent Spirit Award nomination. Pfeiffer remembered her as a remarkable talent and human, a sentiment echoed by fans and peers alike. Through decades of changing trends, Valerie Mahaffey remained a true actor's actor, always present, always genuine. Her husband, actor Joseph Kell, called her the love of his life. America remembers her as one of its most endearing talents, a performer who made us laugh, made us feel, and reminded us of the quiet power of authenticity. Ed Gale's life was as unique and vivid as the roles he brought to the screen. Best known as the physical performer behind the infamous Chucky in the original Child's Play films, Gale passed away at the age of 61 in Los Angeles. A man of extraordinary energy and humor, he left behind a legacy of over 130 film and television appearances, each filled with heart, grit, and unmissable presence. Born with dwarfism, Gale never allowed challenges to limit his ambitions. At 20, with just $41 in his pocket, he made his way to California, dreaming of a life in the movies. That courage soon led him to roles in cult classics like Howard the Duck, Spaceballs, and Bride of Chucky, where he played characters that defied convention and captured audiences with both fear and laughter. Behind the camera, he was known for his booming laugh, love for storytelling, and generosity in sharing the magic of Hollywood with his nieces and fans. He brought joy to conventions and cherished being known as the fun uncle. Whether it was DJing at a hometown roller rink or lighting up a horror set, Gale's passion was unmistakable. Director Tom Holland, who worked with Gale on Child's Play, once shared how vital Gale was to making the character of Chucky believable, a small figure with big terror, brought to life by a performer who understood both mischief and nuance. Though his final years were marked by controversy, many in the entertainment community choose to remember the artist who brought imagination and dedication to every role. Ed Gale was a one-of-a-kind presence whose legacy, for better or worse, remains part of the fabric of cult cinema. Jeff Baena, a gifted filmmaker whose quiet brilliance shaped some of the most poignant indie comedies of the past decade, has left behind a legacy that will continue to resonate with audiences and storytellers alike. Born with a natural eye for the offbeat and the heartfelt, Jeff carved a path in Hollywood not by chasing spectacle, but by crafting stories that lingered, tender, humorous, and unexpectedly profound. His directorial debut, Life After Beth, took the zombie genre and turned it into something deeply human. With The Little Hours and The Spinster, he brought medieval mischief and modern existentialism into sharp, hilarious focus, proving his versatility and fearless creativity. He was more than a director, he was a partner in art and in life. His long-standing relationship with actress Aubrey Plaza was one built not only on love, but on collaboration and mutual admiration. Together, they pushed boundaries and made bold choices, including Cinema Toast, a daring anthology that marked Plaza's own directorial debut under Baena's visionary production. Those who worked with Jeff remember his quiet kindness, his disarming wit, and his unwavering commitment to authentic storytelling. He wasn't interested in fame, he was interested in meaning. Whether behind the camera or in the editing room, he brought thoughtfulness and originality to every project. Though he may no longer walk among us, Jeff Baena's spirit lives on in the laughter he sparked, the stories he told, and the creative freedom he championed. For those who loved him and those touched by his work, his presence remains subtle, sincere, and unforgettable. Jon Capodice, a beloved character actor whose warm presence and everyman charm lit up both screens big and small, has bid his final curtain call at the age of 83. Born in Chicago in 1941, Jon's life was defined by service, both to his country and to his craft. Before his acting career began, he served in the U.S. Army during the Korean War from 1964 to 1966, a chapter that shaped the quiet strength he would later bring to his many roles. Over 4 decades, Jon became a familiar face in American households. He had an uncanny ability to make the smallest roles unforgettable, whether delivering a sharp retort on Seinfeld, portraying Carmine Cerullo on General Hospital, or sparring with Jim Carrey's wild-eyed detective in Ace Ventura. Pet Detective, Jon brought depth, humor, and humanity to every performance. His film appearances in Speed, Independence Day, and Enemy of the State added to a resume of over 100 credits, a testament to his tireless dedication and versatile talent. Yet, despite his many accomplishments, he remained a humble craftsman of the screen, often preferring the background to the spotlight. Beyond the stage and studio lights, Jon was a devoted husband, father, and grandfather. Those who knew him speak of his generosity, loyalty, and the twinkle in his eye when telling a great story, whether in a scene or around the dinner table. John Capodice may not have been a leading man in Hollywood headlines, but to the audiences who saw him, he was a constant, a familiar face who brought comfort, laughter, and truth to the stories he helped tell. His legacy lives on in the moments he gave us and in the love he leaves behind. Bruce Logan, the visionary who helped light up the cosmos on screen, passed away at the age of 78, leaving behind a legacy etched in stardust and celluloid. From a teenage animator crafting films by hand in England to a trailblazer of cinematic magic, Bruce's journey was one of passion, perseverance, and awe-inspiring imagination. At just 19, he joined Stanley Kubrick's team on 2001, A Space Odyssey, working under the legendary Douglas Trumbull. It was a trial by fire, and he rose with brilliance, helping redefine the language of visual storytelling. His most iconic claim, "I blew up the Death Star." And indeed, as head of Second Unit Special Effects on Star Wars: A New Hope, Bruce gave us one of the most unforgettable climaxes in film history, a symphony of light and explosion that still echoes across galaxies far, far away. But Bruce was far more than the man behind the explosions. As cinematographer on groundbreaking films like Tron, and a trusted collaborator to directors like Terry Gilliam, William Friedkin, and John Huston, he shaped the visual soul of stories across genres. He captured spectacle, but also subtlety, always with heart, always with purpose. Off-set, he was a kind and soulful man, a car racing enthusiast, a storyteller with a mischievous laugh, and a beloved father and husband. His daughter Mary Grace remembered him best. Before CGI ruled the screen, there were visionaries who lit the future by hand. My dad didn't just work on movies, he made magic. Bruce Logan didn't merely shoot stars, he became one, and in every frame he touched, his light still flickers. Peter Kuang, the dynamic actor and martial artist best known as Rain in Big Trouble in Little China, passed away peacefully in his sleep at the age of 73. With a career spanning nearly 5 decades, Kuang's presence was magnetic both on screen and behind the scenes, a fusion of fierce talent and quiet advocacy. In 1986, Kuang etched himself into cult film history as one of the 3 storms in John Carpenter's fantastical action epic. His performance was both graceful and commanding, a martial arts warlock who moved like lightning, as memorable now as when the film first flickered to life. That same year, he appeared in The Golden Child and Never Too Young to Die, further proving his range and versatility. But Peter Kuang was more than just a character actor. He was a pillar of Hollywood's Asian American community, a lifelong advocate for representation and equity. Serving over a decade on the SAG and AFTRA national boards and participating in the Academy's Actors Branch Executive Committee, he worked tirelessly to elevate voices too often overlooked. A classically trained martial artist, dancer, and pop locker, Kuang brought both physical precision and artistic passion to every role. He performed on some of the biggest stages, from Miami Vice to General Hospital, from Dynasty to Drake and Josh, always leaving a memorable impression. His friends remember him not only for his talent, but for his unwavering integrity and generosity. He had a wonderful life and career, one said. Always a gentleman, always willing to help. Peter Kuang didn't just entertain, he inspired. He stood for dignity in an industry slow to offer it, and in doing so, he helped pave the way for future generations. His light will not be forgotten. Brian Avnet, the beloved artist manager and music executive whose career shaped generations of musical excellence, passed away on May 14th at the age of 82. A trusted champion behind the scenes, Avnet was a guiding force in the careers of Josh Groban, the Manhattan Transfer, David Foster, and countless others. From his early days managing venues as a teenager in Maryland to becoming the president of 143 Records, Avnet's journey was defined by a deep passion for music, a keen eye for talent, and an unwavering commitment to integrity. He famously never required his artists to sign contracts. His word, respected by all, was his bond. Avnet played a pivotal role in the Manhattan Transfer's historic dual Grammy wins in 1981 and was the visionary who helped launch Groban's career. His collaborations with producer David Foster on recordings for Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, and Michael Bublé left an indelible mark on popular music. Throughout his life, he remained a tireless advocate for the artists he believed in. But beyond the accolades, Brian Avnet was cherished for his honesty, warmth, and loyalty. He was savvy, honest, funny, and gifted with a heart of gold, said Alan Paul of the Manhattan Transfer. His wife, Marcia, described him simply as beloved. In 2017, he was inducted into the Personal Managers Hall of Fame, a fitting tribute to a man who made a profound impact on the music industry through trust and passion rather than contracts and negotiations. Brian Avnet's legacy lives on in the voices he helped bring to the world, in the artists he uplifted, and in the lives he touched with grace and authenticity. J. Ira Caner, the legendary Hollywood agent and producer whose influence helped shape the golden era of cinema, passed away peacefully at his Beverly Hills home on August 6, 2024, at the age of 97. From humble beginnings in MCA's mailroom to becoming a confidant and representative of icons like Marlon Brando, Grace Kelly, and Marilyn Monroe, Caner's story was the stuff of Hollywood lore. At just 22, he secured Brando's breakout role in The Men, setting in motion a lifelong friendship and a trailblazing career. His discerning eye and authentic approach to talent management elevated stars and reshaped the industry. Known not only for his sharp business acumen, but also his deep integrity, Caner inspired Jack Lemmon's character in The Apartment, reflecting a life where personal and professional threads intertwined in extraordinary ways. A trusted lieutenant to MCA titan Lew Wasserman, Caner later greenlit European productions for Universal and joined forces with Alan Ladd Jr. at Fox and the Ladd Co., contributing to the creation of cinematic classics like Chariots of Fire, Blade Runner, and Body Heat. His collaborations with Mel Brooks also brought enduring laughter to audiences worldwide. Despite decades of prestige and power, Caner remained warm, gracious, and beloved by peers. "If you knew him, you loved him," Mel Brooks said. His charm was effortless, his suits always sharp, and his storytelling legendary. He is survived by his large and loving family, who will carry forward the legacy of a man whose impact reached far beyond Hollywood. In J. Caner, the film industry didn't just lose a pioneer, it lost a heart, a mentor, and a friend to many. Valetta Wallace, beloved mother of the late rap icon the Notorious B.I.G. and tireless guardian of his legacy, passed away peacefully on February 21, 2025, at her home in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. She was 72. Born in Jamaica, Valetta raised her only son, Christopher Wallace, in Brooklyn as a single mother after his father left when Biggie was just 2 years old. A preschool teacher by trade, she instilled in him a sense of discipline, resilience, and a deep love that endured through triumph and tragedy. Though initially uncertain about her son's music, once calling it noise, Valetta came to embrace it fully after his death in 1997. Listening to his songs became her form of healing, and she became an unrelenting force in preserving his legacy, transforming grief into purpose. As executor of his estate, she managed a multi-million-dollar empire while always reminding the world of the man behind the myth, a loving, brilliant, and complicated young man taken too soon. Through the years, she co-produced the 2009 biopic Notorious and served as executive producer on the acclaimed Netflix documentary Biggie, I Got a Story to Tell. Whether in interviews or heartfelt tributes, she never wavered in her mission to ensure her son's artistry and humanity were remembered in equal measure. Her strength, elegance, and quiet dignity inspired generations of fans and artists alike. "There is always hope," she once said about the ongoing search for justice in her son's unsolved murder. That hope, and her unwavering love, defined her life. Valetta Wallace is survived by her grandchildren, C.J. Wallace and Tiana Wallace, and countless admirers who witnessed the depth of a mother's love echoed through music, memory, and legacy. Breaking news. Liza Minnelli, the daughter of Hollywood royalty, was born to dazzle. But beyond the sequins, the standing ovations, and the spotlight lies a story far richer than glamour. Hers is a tale of tenacity, of rebirths after ruin, and a voice that refused to be silenced. As we look back on Liza's iconic career and her powerful health journey, we are invited into the heart of a woman who defined not just a generation, but the courage it takes to live out loud. Born on March 12, 1946, in Los Angeles, California, Liza Minnelli was the only child of the legendary Judy Garland and acclaimed director Vincente Minnelli. From her earliest days, she was surrounded by lights, music, and drama, a world where magic seemed possible. But the glimmer of Hollywood came with heavy expectations. Living in the shadow of her mother, one of the most beloved entertainers of all time, was not a privilege without pressure. Liza had to fight to become her own name, not merely Judy Garland's daughter. What would it feel like to grow up in the shadow of a legend? How do you find your own voice when the world expects you to echo someone else's? Her fight began on the Broadway stage. At just 19, Liza stunned audiences with her performance in Flora the Red Menace, winning her first Tony Award. That same fire would carry her to the silver screen, where in 1972 she delivered a performance that would change her life and cinema history. As Sally Bowles in Cabaret, Liza captured hearts with a mix of vulnerability, eccentricity, and raw charm. Her portrayal earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress and a permanent place in Hollywood legend. Have you ever watched someone perform and thought, "This is not just acting, this is life itself"? That was Liza in Cabaret. But stardom, even the brightest kind, cannot shield one from life's storms. Liza's career soared, yet her personal life often mirrored the chaos of a stage drama. She married 4 times, faced public scrutiny, and struggled with the legacy of addiction and heartbreak that followed her family. At times, it seemed like the weight of expectations and private battles might silence her song. And then came 2000, a turning point few could have predicted. Liza was diagnosed with viral encephalitis, a rare and serious condition that causes inflammation of the brain. Doctors feared she might never walk or speak again. For a woman whose very life force pulsed through her voice and movement, the prognosis was harrowing. Can you imagine what it must have felt like for a performer of her caliber to hear she might lose the very faculties that defined her? But if there is one truth Liza Minnelli has proven time and again, it is this: resilience is her middle name. Against the odds, Liza made a remarkable recovery. She learned to walk again, she relearned how to speak, and most astoundingly, she returned to the stage, singing, performing, and dazzling audiences as if she had never been away. Her comeback was not just a triumph of medicine, but a triumph of spirit. It was a declaration: I am still here. Have you ever faced something that felt impossible and came back stronger? How did you find your strength? In the years that followed, Liza balanced the realities of aging and health with a graceful presence in the entertainment world. She continued to perform into her 70s, often in a wheelchair, but always with elegance. Fans would say that even when seated, Liza could light up a room like no one else. She brought humor, heart, and unfiltered honesty to every appearance, often poking fun at her own legend while still honoring it. In 2025, at the age of 78, Liza stunned viewers when she appeared on the season finale of RuPaul's Drag Race, receiving a Lifetime Achievement honor and performing a stirring rendition of Ring Them Bells. It was a moment that reminded the world, legends do not fade, they evolve. What is it about Liza that keeps her in our hearts? Is it her flair, her voice, or her refusal to give up? What part of her story speaks to you the most? Looking ahead, fans are eagerly anticipating her memoir, scheduled for release in 2026. In her own words, Liza has said she wants to set the record straight and tell her story as only she can. This memoir is expected to be more than a reflection. It will be a celebration of a life lived fully, a life that saw the highest highs and survived the deepest lows. Accompanying this, a new documentary titled Liza, A Truly Terrific, Absolutely True Story is in the works, promising never-before-seen footage and candid interviews that chart her rise, fall, and rebirth across decades. Liza Minnelli's story is more than Hollywood history. It is human history. It is about daring to stand up when the world expects you to sit down. It is about loving fiercely, performing fearlessly, and living truthfully. To this day, her impact ripples through generations of performers, particularly within the LGBTQ+ community, where she is revered as an icon of authenticity and survival. Her life has become a blueprint for artistic passion and personal courage. So when we ask, how did she keep shining? The answer is simple. She never stopped being Liza, not for fame, not for approval, and certainly not for comfort. She shone because that is what she was born to do. What memories do you hold of Liza Minnelli? Was it a song, a film, a quote that touched you? Have you ever drawn strength from her resilience? Share your story below and join us in honoring a woman whose voice may quiver but never fades. If her story inspired you, like this video, subscribe to our channel, and celebrate the indomitable brilliance of Liza Minnelli, a true legend then and now.